How many of you have money and want to make more money? We're going to talk today about income. How you can make your money work for you.
Grow your money consistently, predictably, safely, very low risk, backed by real estate, backed by physical, solid property, just like banks do with a mortgage.
Freedom is when money's working for you at a velocity that allows you to enjoy your lifestyle without having to work for money. Welcome everybody to the Wealth Webinar. This webinar has been around for years. It's simple what we do with this. We teach you how money really works. We teach you the truth about money and how to be your own bank, and today is no different. So welcome everybody here, and I hope for all the new folks, we give you some value today. And that's all we ever do every single week for every single webinar, is just give tremendous value, teach you things that you can use, things that you can take out there and use. And today we're going to really knock your socks off, because we're going to go into how to make your money work for you. Now, before we get started, and I got some other things I want to go over, some housekeeping stuff, but there's this interesting thing, and I got to give it to all of you. This is honestly what I'm going to give you right now. This is a give. I mean, like a true from the heart give. I'm going to give you a video. Every morning when I go for a run, I listen to new videos. And this one is a video from Earl Nightingale. I listen to a lot of Earl, but this one is exceptional. I just put it in the chat. If you read this, okay, or listen to this, it is the 7 principles to wealth. Now, I want to just read a couple things off this before we get kicked off today, and then finish up the housekeeping and go right into what we're going to do. But Earl Nightingale in this, and I'm just going to read verbatim of the things he said. He said, true wealth follows cause and effect. And that is the true statement. He said, the path to wealth is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And it's available to everybody and every one of us willing to be disciplined, consistent, and deliberate. He said, the challenge is not the knowledge. He said, the challenge is the application of the knowledge. I say that all the time. He said, if you can follow these 7 principles, you can and will become wealthy. Wealth is not built in one day. Wealth is built daily. I loved that statement. Applied knowledge is power. You must do it patiently. And that's the one thing I think a lot of people don't have, is patience, and consistently. It's never too late, and it's never too early. Freedom is far greater than wealth. Freedom from fear, freedom from spending time doing things you don't like, freedom to give, freedom to serve, to grow, to give, to survive, and the freedom from regret. He talks about all these things, and he goes through the 7 principles that he has used in his life. And I just want to give you these 7 principles, then I want to dive into what we're doing. I'm actually not going to give you all 7, actually. I'm going to make you watch it. I'm going to give you the first couple. Number 1, just like in all my stuff with the 6 laws of wealth that I did and the TEDx talk I did for my daughter, pay yourself first. That's key. Nothing that you're going to learn today is going to work if you don't pay yourself first, if you don't put yourself at the front of the line, because that's not what we've been taught. Okay, this first principle, this first law is not what we've been taught. We've been taught to go out and work for money. We go out, we work for this. Then we put it in someone else's control, i.e. the bank or Wall Street. Then what do? We pay everybody else. We pay our expenses, we pay our debts, all of our bills, and then whatever's left is what we keep. Let me be the first and not the last to tell you this. That is backwards. Earl said it. Everybody, every wealthy family, every wealthy person has said that is backwards. You must pay yourself first. The second thing he says in the principles is, this is simple, so simple, but yet so misunderstood and not used. Spend less than you make. He said the person who pays themselves first becomes powerful, not because of the number in his account, but because of the discipline behind his actions. He becomes confident, steady, and independent. But then again, spend less than you make. This isn't about a restriction. Okay, we're not trying to restrict you, make you eat rice and beans and then beans and rice. This is about taking and putting a direction to what you're doing. It's about telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it all went. That's the difference between paying yourself or paying everybody else and wondering where it all went. Does that make sense? And the third one, I'll make you do the rest of the work, is understand the power of compound interest and make it work for you. The reason I wanted to go into this stuff is because that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to not just tap into the power of compounding interest, okay, but we're going to tap into something that all of you may have heard about and may not have heard about, but be your own bank. Commonly known, from the late R. Nelson Nash as the infinite banking concept, which is not a product. I want to be very clear. The whole process we're going to teach is just a process. Every one of you can use it from anywhere you are in the country, in the world. You can use this process. But it is a process that requires discipline. It requires changing your mindset, most importantly, because we all have a broken mindset when it comes to money. And it also is certainly about being consistent and persistent. And also, I'll add deliberate. You have to be deliberate for this to work. So let's talk about being deliberate. So today, we're not teaching you something that's you're not going to get rich quick doing this. Okay, I want to be clear about that. This is a get rich and stay rich strategy, but it takes time. It's short-term give for a long-term get. Does that make sense? Short-term give for a long-term get. Let me just put it this way. Let's say for a period of 2 to 3 years, you put money into something and you made nothing. Okay, you actually lost money. Let's just say you lost money for a period of 2 years. Not a lot, but you lost a little bit of money for 2 years. But then from that year on, from the 3rd year on, for the rest of your life, you're guaranteed to make money. How many of you, by a show of hands over in the chat, and you can do just a $ to that, how many of you would give for 2 years to receive guaranteed for the rest of your life? In other words, you give up a little bit for 2 years so that every year after that, there's more money in your account than there was the year before, and that is guaranteed. Now, people all are putting this $ over there. People always say this. But then when you talk to your advisor and you talk to your family members and everything, and you tell them what you're about to learn, the infinite banking concept, like, oh, no, that's not a good idea. Dave Ramsey said don't do that. And listen, you are the creator of your own destiny. Let me repeat that. You are the creator of your own destiny. But that means you are the creator of your own future wealth. You have to create the person you want to be. You have to create the future that you want for you and your family. If you allow other people to create that, well, you're going to have something that you never wanted. That is called conformity. And Earl Nightingale talks about that a lot. The successful people that he has interviewed, all of them, every one of them, they were creators like all of you are. They were not conformers. They didn't conform to other people's failed realities, other people's failed plans. They conformed to no one because they created everything, their business, their future, their finances, their wealth. You must be in control, which is why we always say what we teach people to do is be in control of their money. So here's one of the things you're going to have to understand. This isn't just change. This is a lifestyle upgrade. But to get the lifestyle upgrade that you want, sometimes you got to give a little bit today to get later. And that goes into what I was saying that Earl Nightingale said was that second one. And this is the hardest one. Spend less than you make. Seems so simple. Yet, looking at statistics, that is not what people do. We have to upgrade how you receive money. We have to upgrade where your money goes. We have to upgrade how you spend money. But we also have to upgrade how you view money. And all of those things are just pieces of the puzzle. And we're going to hit one of them today. We're going to talk today about income. Okay, we're going to talk about how you can make your money work for you. Now, Stephen, I think I'll start just the same way we did yesterday, and I think this is the best way to do it. So I've been at multiple stages through my life of the money spectrum, if you will. You know, growing up in a lower middle class family where mom was on food stamps, and the most common thing I heard is we're not heating the outside, or we're not heating the outside, I think is what she used to say in the winter, and in the summer it was we're not cooling the outside. We never had air conditioning, but we had fans. That was the most common things. How many of you can relate to that growing up? We're not heating the outside. Yeah. When you went to the grocery store and you wanted, this or that, and mom said, well, not today. When you were walking through, back then it was Kmart and Hills for me. I don't know how many of you remember those stores, but whatever. You're walking through a department store and you wanted a little car, you wanted a toy. Not today, right? I'm sure a lot of you grew up that way. Well, so did I. And nothing changed. I've been at multiple facets of it. I was a young adopter being an entrepreneur at the age of 16, but I was a broke entrepreneur. And I went through all this. I landed in Wall Street, which was the first time ever that I really made real money. And I made money, but I followed all the things I was taught about money, and I pretty much lost it all in 2008. Almost went bankrupt. Then I made it all back, built up a rental portfolio, lost it all again in 2014. So I've made it and lost it, made it and lost it. And when I ask people, and actually let me ask all of you, when I ask all of you, What is the difference between someone who's rich and someone who's wealthy? Who can tell me the difference? Someone who's rich and someone who's wealthy. What is the difference between being rich and being wealthy? And Earl Nightingale said, this is how freedom is preserved, how wealth is maintained. If you live below your means, you begin to operate from a place of margin, not a place of desperation. You are not wondering how to cover emergencies. You are not reliant on credit cards and others. So Nora said right now versus generational. I like that. Wealthy is forever. I love that. Wealthy is generational. I love this. You're all nailing it. Wealthy is residual, freedom, healthy family. I love that. And listen, wealth comes in many forms. It's not just money in the bank. You know, I love the memes that you see on Facebook where it shows, you know, a father and his wife and the children kind of all hugging. That's wealth. But let's get back to rich versus wealthy. Here is the definitive difference. A wealthy individual has figured out how not to give the money back, how not to give the wealth back. I just mentioned how I had money and then I lost it. That's called rich. I had money. I bought nice things when I had money. I spent up to my income, and then all of a sudden something happened. The Great Recession happened. A water line broke at one of the rentals. Some tragic thing happened. I'm broke again. I was always 1, 2, or 3 paychecks away from being back in the same place I was before I had money. That's rich. Wealthy is when your money is working for you. So during my experience and my journey, I had the experience of getting into real estate. 2006, I did a flip. 2007, did another one. 2008, developed a strip mall. Almost went bankrupt in 2008 on that plaza, that strip mall. And then 2009 to 14, bought apartment buildings. Here's the one thing I will tell you is during that entire period of time, all I was doing is borrowing money, leveraging banks, hard money lenders, and eventually with the flips that we were doing, you know, when we had our show on HGTV, we were using private lenders. There's an individual I know who has become a dear friend, but back then he was just a guy on a stage, and he said this profound thing. I want you to all write this down, okay? Write this down. He said, the ultimate in real estate is being the bank. Now, clearly, Greg, this individual, was the bank. He was a lender. He was lending money from his self-directed IRAs, lending money from his specially designed whole life, lending. I was borrowing. I thought I was the one making all the money because I'm buying these properties and flipping them and making money here and there. Well, when COVID hit, everything changed for me. Okay, and that was, we had 91 rentals. We had 91 doors, I should say, 91 doors. And at that time, here in New York, kind of like what they're proposing soon, but we won't get into that. We hit that on WTF. Tenants stopped paying rent. And the state said, hey, they can't evict them. So they continued to stop paying rent. So I literally went through a process of selling off all the properties. Now, listen, it worked out. So it worked out because property values were going up as I was selling into this market, the COVID market, and the post-COVID market. So I got to the point where I was heavily leveraged, heavily in debt, but I had lots of assets, to the point where I sold off most of the assets, and now I had a bunch of capital. And at that point, I wanted to be the bank. Now, here was the thing that I thought was going to be easy. Greg said, be the bank, be the bank. Great. Go out and find people like I was that wanted to borrow money. So I would go out there and I would go to Facebook groups. I would go to RIAs and I would just tell people, hey, listen, I'm looking to lend. And people would hand me pieces of paper with an address on it as if I was supposed to do all the work. And that wasn't what I had in mind. I was too busy. Like, bring me a proposal, bring me a whole deck, bring me like your deal and all the specifics, the comps, the rehab, the scope of work, all of it. They didn't. So I found this to be very difficult. And I went on a journey. And Stephen, I want you to tell your story in a second. I went on a journey to find a place, because there had to be a place, right? In today's world, there had to be a community of people that were lenders, private lenders, so people with money, and people that needed money, deals. That place didn't exist. Stephen, you want to pick up from there and kind of tell that moment we were sitting at that bar, what all transpired?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how things happen for a reason in life, and I don't know if anybody else believes that, but I'm a big believer that, you know, what you put out there comes back to you. You have to have positive mindset. You have to feed your body and your mind with, you know, the right content, the right types of things, that you envision yourself being. And I also believe that timing is everything. And, at the time before I had met Chris, starting from the beginning, I was a personal financial advisor, went on my own journey down the real estate investment world, and like some aspects of real estate investing, love some aspects of it, didn't like a lot of aspects of it. But over the years, I've found my niche and what I really do love, which is the money side of things. And at the time before I met Chris, I was working with a guy named Greg Hurling, who owns a couple real estate companies in that space. And we were trying to find ways to really get clients to get their money moving, and be able to get out there and find real estate investors to work with and partner with and lend on deals and things like that. And so Chris was doing a lot of really cool things in the real estate space and the money space. So Greg was like, "Hey, you guys should meet." So I fly out to Phoenix, Arizona, and I meet with Chris for one of the first times, and we're sitting at the bar after the event, and Chris is like, "Hey, you know what, Stephen? Like, I love the education aspects. Let's definitely start doing workshops. We're gonna start teaching this stuff that we both have, a decade plus of experience and all this, that we've done in the past. We're gonna start sharing that with people and really helping a lot of people." But he goes, "This is my ultimate goal." He goes, "I have this idea, and I want to tell you about it now because I want to put it out there in the universe." I was like, "Awesome." So we're sitting there at the bar, and he takes out a napkin, a bar napkin, which I believe that so many great ideas have been either formed either on a golf course, sitting at a bar, or in the shower. I don't know if that's a weird one, but I get good thoughts when I'm taking a shower. But anyways, all right, we're not talking about showers. All right, so anyway, so Chris starts getting this bar napkin, and he's drawing a circle on, and he starts laying out the vision for what ultimately became Private Money Club. And when you draw a circle, you kind of look at a coin, think about a coin, a silver coin, for example. I always have a silver coin around somewhere. All right, here's one right here. So you take this silver coin. This one's got Trump saying fight, fight, fight on one side of it. All right, so you take this, you say, okay, so there's two different sides of a coin. You have one side, this is like the borrowers. This is people that are actively in real estate, that are doing deals. And anybody that's been in real estate investing, that you come to a point where the bank will no longer lend you money. You're overextend, you don't fit their little box they need, all that stuff. So you're like, hey, the only way I can do more deals is to get more money. Well, where do I get the money if the banks don't lend to me? Well, that's where private money comes in. And that's where the other side of that coin comes in, is there's a whole group of people. And at the time I was working with people that had self-directed retirement accounts. So they were self-directing their money, controlling their money, which is awesome. But then what do they do with that money without actively going out there and doing real estate? So they're looking, these lenders on this side of the coin are looking for these real estate deals, are looking for people they can lend money to. And it's very popular to come from self-directed accounts, to come from infinite banking policies. Maybe people pulled out of the stock market for whatever reason, but they're looking for these deals. So Chris was like, hey, we got this group of people over here, borrowers, active investors. We have this group of people, lenders, passive investors. But there's nothing out there that exists that really brings these two people together. And on top of that, what's the other important aspect of this whole situation? It's doing it the right way. It's the education. It's the tools. And that's what that outside edge of the coin is. We all think of two sides of a coin, but the edge, that's like that third edge. And that's where the magic happens. And that's exactly what Chris drew on that napkin was we have the borrowers on this side. We have the lenders on this side. We have the education, the support, the coaching, everything else on that outer edge that brings them together to allow this magic to occur. And that was kind of that conversation we had then. Then we went out and we started teaching real estate investing, teaching infinite banking in person. COVID hit. We were in Orlando, Florida, at an event when the president came on and said, hey, we're shutting down the country. If you're traveling, get where you need to go. The airports are all closing down for 14 days to slow the spread. And so Chris hauled ass back up to New York. I drove back home down to South Florida, and we launched, basically everything you say today. I've been sharing over in the comments a link tree, a little link for the 6 live webinars we do every single week. So we took our live in-person events, moved them online. We're still doing this day. And Private Money Club has now become the #1 source in the country for borrowers and lenders to meet, to network together, to build relationships, and ultimately do deals together. And it's been a beautiful thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today and exactly how PMC can benefit you along with the infinite banking concept and controlling your wealth. So I hope that helps, Chris.
I love it. And folks, I just drew it on, this is the napkin, literally right behind me. You can see it. I just drew a circle, and in the middle, that was the edge of the coin. If you can imagine two sides of a coin, and the edge was community, education, and tools. Simple, right? Simple, stupid. And then I said to Stephen, I said, the reason I know this will work is because it solves a really big problem for every person in the world. But specifically, this whole idea was just for the US. But just understand, there are only two types of people in the world. And I'll describe it. And if any of you want to debate me on that and say, no, there's more, you're wrong, those aren't the only two types of people, then sure. But there are people on one side of the coin that have money. So over here on this, I'm just going to put, these are the haves, okay? They have money. So we'll get rid of the haves. They have money. That's one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin were people like, at the time, me, who need money. So I said to Stephen, I said, there's only two types of people. There are people that have money and there are people that need money. And I said, the best part about this is both of them have a really big problem that each other can solve. Because the problem that every person I've ever met that has money, and I've met billionaires, multimillionaires, decamillionaires, they all want to make more. How many of you have money and want to make more money? I mean, I'm in. I want to make more. I want to make more to serve more. I want to make more to give more. I want to make more for freedom of time. I want more. Okay. Over here were people that needed money. This was me when I was a real estate investor. And this is almost every real estate investor and every entrepreneur you'll ever meet. They need money. Why do they need money? To make more. So you can see this is the problem. In life, folks, and everything that you've read, I don't care if it's the Bible, if you study Earl or Knight, or if you listen to, gosh, I mean, all of the stuff. I don't know why the one name's slipping my mind, but it'll come to me. All of them say that exact thing. If you want more out of life, then solve more problems. What you're going to make in life is in direct relationship to what you give. And the give is solving people's problems. So we're solving problems. And all I said is, listen, there's got to be a place that brings people with money together with people that need money. And specifically, we started in real estate because that was something I knew, something I liked, and something I understood. If you're ever going to invest money, write this down. That's the rule. Invest in things you know, things you like, and things you understand. If you don't know, like, and understand it, do not invest in it until you put the time in to do the due diligence to know, like, and understand it. That's a huge mistake investors make. But I said to myself, I said, this is even simpler than I thought, because this is just like a dating site. Imagine if you, folks, imagine if you were the one that back a long time ago figured out that there's a better way to go and date somebody. Like back in the day, you all remember, some of you are old enough, like I'm almost 48. We used to go to bars. We used to go everywhere. Like you put a lot of effort in just to meet somebody to go on a date, didn't you? Today, there's dating sites. And what is on a dating site? Men and women come on there. They build a profile. They tell the other party about who they are, what they like, their similarities, what they know, like, and understand. And then they put it up there, and each of them communicate in a community with some tools and some different things to kind of help aid this process along. And then what happens? Well, they go on a date. They either like each other or they don't. They either date or don't. They maybe get engaged, get married, have kids, all that stuff. Like that's a dating site. I said, this is a dating site for money. People with money meet people that need money. It's a perfect match. That's all we created, folks. We literally created the first dating site for money. And you know what's unique about this is it's so simple. Yeah, Jim Rohn, I love somebody just mentioned that. It's exactly Jim Rohn. But where did Jim Rohn get his philosophy? You see, it all goes back to the same sources. The wise men of the ancient times all said the same things. And if you study the scriptures, if you read the Bible, you will find hints and different things throughout all of the scriptures that have ever been written. And they all go back to the same 7 principles. Always. They vary in how they're put out there. But again, solve somebody else's problem. That's all you need to do. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We got Noah Harris coming on. He's going to talk about how he solves other people's problems, but that's all this did. Now, let me just real quick show this to you because I did this last night, and I think this is important that you all understand what this looks like. This thing that we're talking about is called Private Money Club. I'm not going to spend much time on this. You can all go into Private Money Club. You could create a profile just like you do any other social media site. And when you create your profile, you'll become just like the other 8,700 plus members in Private Money Club. That's how many we have now, over 8,700 members. And you'll see all these different folks that are posted on here. They'll tell the story of who they are, what they do. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. I don't know Boyd, but here's Boyd. So Boyd's a premier member, which means Boyd took Private Money Club Sirius. He paid a membership fee. Okay, so he paid $14.97 per year. I almost said the monthly, but $14.97 per year to become a member of Private Money Club, to give him additional storage, additional notifications, features, and yada yada. And then he was real serious about lending and borrowing, so he became a certified lender and a certified borrower. So I can go in here and I can learn more about Boyd. So I can come in here. I love this right here. Look at this. Holy crap. That's kind of bizarre, folks. This wasn't planned. I swear to God, this was not planned.
That is wild.
Steven says everything happens for a reason. I just randomly picked Boyd because literally he was the first person in there that I had no idea who Boyd was. And look at this. You tell me the universe doesn't listen. You tell me that things aren't put in front of you at exactly the right time when you need them. You become what you think about all day long. So anyway, I don't need to see anything else. 23 years of marriage, 16 years applying new cybersecurity. So these are the things about him. He's a certified lender borrower. He's got no negative reviews. So that's Boyd. So we can learn a lot about Boyd, but let's just say we're done learning about Boyd and we want to go in there and we want to tell everybody else about us, who we are. Well, that's what the community is all about. You go into the community, you can post anything you want. You can post your deals. You can post just credit partner needed, 680 credit score. So you can post anything you want, vacations, properties, and or you could just say, hey, here we go, borrower for HELOC or HELO loan. So like this person, Megan, is just wanted to show a photo like Megan, there we are. So now everybody knows who Megan is. Exceptional wealth creation. This is obviously an event or whatever they're looking for. But let's just say you're a lender. You want to be the bank. You heard the ultimate in real estate is being the bank, so you wanted to be the bank. And we're going to talk about the bank today. We're going to talk about how being the bank allows you to earn money twice on the same dollar. It's just a more efficient way using the infinite banking concepts as a lender than just lending from a bank account. But we'll get into that in a second. But when you go in here, like you can set, if you're a Premier member, you can set your filters. Like I set all my notifications. Here's what I'm looking for. And because I tell it what I want, it sends me deals that match. So here's a deal that just came in yesterday. Let's see, they need $30,000, 12% interest, and they're paying that over 60 months, and there's 27 days left. So I could go in and say, I'm interested. I could tell them what I want them to send me or not send me. I can read about the deal. I can literally pull up and download their proposal, their tax card, their tax map, tracking, whatever the lender program. So they even have their lender program guide. So they've created a guide. That's pretty interesting. How many of you want to see this? I kind of do. I'm interested in what that is. Passive cash flow for lenders secured by real estate. So look at this. They built this whole guide. No, I got to believe these people went through the Accelerator training with you. They must have, because look at this. Dude, how freaking awesome is this? Anyway, let me kind of get away from this and go back into PMC, if it will let me. There we go. And it's got all this info, but that's just one deal out of hundreds of deals on here. You can just go in and talk to members, start communicating with them. You can go to different events and join us for all the different free webinars we do. You can buy courses and certifications, which can be bought with your credit shop points that you get, and just resources, all the different things that you can use. So anyway, this is Private Money Club. Sorry, didn't mean to go deeper into that or that deep into it, but it's literally revolutionizing the way that deals are getting funded. And it is doing it in a really cool way that solves two people's problems, the only two types of people there are, in one place. So again, back to that original thing. Your income is in direct relationship to what you give, okay? So if you're giving more, if you're solving more problems, if you're helping more people, you must get more. And that's it. What was the biggest thing? People wanted to they have money, but they wanted to make more, and they needed money to make more. So today what we're going to do is we're going to walk through with a lot of different people, just different aspects of what does it look like to be the bank? What does it look like to be a private lender? What are some of the rules you need to follow, which I think is some of the things Noah's going to talk about, but I'm going to have Steven introduce that. And then we got Craig on here, and what we're going to do as we get closer to the end is we're going to kind of bring this all together with a little bow tie and show you how you could do all of this while your money is working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, uninterrupted. So let me repeat that. You can do all this. Like I showed you that one lending deal. I could lend $30,000 to those folks at 12% over 60 months in a first lien position. While I lend the money to them, they're paying me 12%. Not bad, right? I think a lot of people would like that. But at the same time, that $30,000 that I lent to them, never left my account. It's still in my private banking system, still earning interest, still earning dividends in a tax-free environment, protected against judgments and liens, at least in most states, and providing a legacy for my family. I'm making money how many times in this transaction? That borrower's paying me 12%. So that's one. Let's count. That's one time. My private banking system, where all that $30,000 is still there because it never left my account. And this is, some of you might be thinking this is like hocus pocus stuff. They're like, wait a second, Chris, hold on. You got 30 grand in this account, this hocus pocus account that's paying you uninterrupted compounding interest and tax-free and all that stuff you said. That's great. But how did you give them 30 grand if your money's still in the account? That's the tricky part. And that's the part we're going to talk about. This is nothing new, folks. Been around for hundreds of years. R. Nelson Nash talks about it in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Tony Robbins talks about it all the time. Kiyosaki talks about it all the time. It's been used by Walt Disney, Ray Kroc, the Morgans and the Stanleys, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, all through time. It's been used. But yet, for most people, it's never been shown to them. And the biggest reason why it's probably not been shown to you is either, number one, it was prior, it was pretty much available only to the wealthy. But number two, the people that could show you what this is, they'd have to take a reduction in their pay of anywhere between 60 to 90%. So in order to do what I just told you, to build that machine, that private banking system, someone's got to be willing to give so you can get. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But before we do that, Stephen, since we got Noah here, do you want to introduce some of our guests and we can kind of kick this sucker off?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just want to ask everybody, Chris just kind of demoed and showed you just the basics of Private Money Club, but let me just ask, like, how many of you on here feel like you'd be able to do that? Go on to Private Money Club, the platform, look at a deal, say, hey, I'd love to earn 12 to 15% returns on my money, backed by real estate, backed by physical solid property, just like banks do with a mortgage in a first lien position. Grow your money consistently, have monthly income coming in. I mean, how many of you like the idea of that? Maybe if you don't feel comfortable doing it yet. I mean, how many of you at least like the idea of being able to go on there and grow your money consistently, predictably, safely, very low risk, the rest of it? I'm just curious because that's exactly what Private Money Club is. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Chris and I have been in the financial advisor world and real estate investment world for decades at this point. And so we've done it ourselves. And one of the things when you get into real estate investing, you also learn it's a kind of a small world. It's kind of a small community. And so you travel around the country, you attend masterminds, you meet people. So over the years, what Chris and I have done is we've built up relationships with operators. We've built up relationships with coaches, with investors, with people that have also a lot of experience that love teaching this stuff. And so when we launched Private Money Club, we said, listen, the platform's great. We can put all the tools on there that somebody needs. We can do on-demand education and kind of training that way. But we were missing something. And so Chris and I sat down with our executive team and we're like, what do we need? And so we started having Private Money Club users come to us and say, listen, we love the certification. We love watching the videos, using the tools, the platform, but we need more. We need somebody that can kind of answer our questions, that can be there for us, that can take us out there and show us exactly what to do, that can hold our hand and get us through our first deal or two. Because there's something I've learned in life over the years. Anytime something hard, something you fear, something that you just don't do, once you do it one time, that fear evaporates. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad. That was actually pretty easy. That was actually pretty fun, may I say. And you want to go out there and do it over and over and over again. So what we've done over the last several years is assembled a team. Some of them we had to pull back into coaching because they were doing their own things. But we assembled a team of coaches now that help our clients, our members, our students in Private Money Club with whatever part of the business they want to do. And that's the beautiful thing about real estate investing in Private Money Club is there are literally dozens of different ways to do this. I mean, everything from active real estate, whether it's wholesaling, whether it's mobile homes, single family homes, quadplexes, commercial real estate, development, land. There's so many different active. And then on the private side, there's private funds, there's first position, second position, there's HELOC lending, there's There's escrow lending, there's funds, syndications, different types of fund. Like there's all these different ways to do this. So we assembled a team to kind of strategize with you to figure out, hey, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And so what I want to do is read you something real fast, and I'll just show this. This was sent to me yesterday from one of our members, one of our premier members in Private Money Club. And I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this. I don't have her name on here, but it said, hey, Joel. So Joel is one of my blueprint specialists. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite all of you that like the idea of either borrowing or lending money this way through Private Money Club to set up a free blueprint call. What they're going to do is my blueprint team, Joel and his team, is going to talk to you about, okay, where are you today? What are you working with? What are you trying to accomplish? And they're going to use Chris's exact blueprint that Chris used from going to be an active real estate investor, having a show on HGTV, flipping 250 some houses to now being, a huge lender throughout the country on these deals. They're going to talk to you about the same blueprint that Chris used to set up a blueprint for yourselves. So I'll connect you with this, but this was written yesterday to Joel. Hey, Joel, hope you're doing well. I just watched the replay from Money Club Mondays, which is our weekly show we do every single Monday. One of Noah's recent graduates, a lender, spoke, which I thought was super cool. So what that means is that one of the lenders that just graduated Noah's Accelerator course came on Money Club Monday and introduced themselves. And she talked about what her buy box, what she's looking to lend on, what kind of relationship she's looking to build, which is really cool because usually Money Club Mondays has borrowers on presenting opportunities. So if you're a lender, everybody comes on Money Club Monday now to find new deals, find new borrowers. But she wanted to come on and say, listen, I'm a lender, you come to me. So she's actually attracting borrowers, has borrowers contacting her saying, hey, I want your money. Here's what I'm willing to do for you. And she can negotiate from there. And then they went on to say, I was reminiscing about taking Noah's class and all the ways that it's impacted me. And then naturally thinking about how you handled my hesitancy to sign up for PMC. Again, Joel and the team do a great job of taking where you are today and making sure it makes sense for you. And she said, which was amazing. Thank you. I just funded my 37th deal. I mean, how cool is that? Somebody that was hesitant and scared of getting started at all in the first place, listened to Joel, followed the blueprint, took Noah's Accelerator course, and is now lended on 37 different deals. I mean, can I get a round of applause for that student, please? Because that is absolutely amazing. And so,
you ever feel like you don't have control of your real estate business or your money? That's right. The big banks and the institutions, they're in control, right? I know you've felt that before. Private Money Club puts you back in the driver's seat. As members often tell us, it's a total game changer. Join the community of like-minded lenders and borrowers by going to privatemoneyclub.com. Sign up.
What I wanted to do at this point right now is introduce you guys to Noah Harris. Noah I've known since he and I both worked hand in hand with Robert Kiyosaki. We had the opportunity when we were both in our 20s to be surrounded with some incredible people. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad being one of those. We were able to travel the country with him and his team and learn from them. And then Noah was one of the few individuals that took the education and went out there and started doing it himself. And Noah and his wife, their family, they live up in South Carolina. They have a really strong, powerful, great real estate investment business. They're constantly out every day in the field, looking at houses, doing deals, making it happen. But when I launched Private Money Club and Noah was like, I told Noah about it. Noah's like, dude, that's amazing. Like, we use private money on all of our deals. Like, I'm doing this, but I would love to have access to more. Like, how can I help? And Noah used to be a coach. He retired from it, but just because of what we're doing at Private Money Club, his relationship with myself, and absolutely love what Chris Naugle's doing with everything. He said, listen, I'm willing to come out of retirement and come help you guys. And so Noah's been teaching now for the last couple of years what we call the Private Money Club Accelerator 8-week program. And it's created so many success stories. It's unbelievable. So I invited Noah on today just so you guys can meet him, just kind of get to know him a little bit. And I would invite all of you to take the Accelerator course because it really is that powerful if you're looking to get into this. So Noah, thanks for taking time. I know you got your son today. Your wife is traveling with your other kids. Yeah. So thanks for taking a few minutes here. But what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
All right.
211 people on this call. This is fun.
Rocking, baby.
This is great, man. I love it. Thanks for the awesome introduction, and everything you're saying is just facts. That's exactly how it played out. I'm a full-time well, hello everybody. What's up? Hi, Noah Harris here. Like Steven said, I am a full-time real estate investor. That's what my wife and I do for a living. And we've been using private money lenders, people just like you, on this call to fund our real estate fix and flips now for almost 15 years. We've been married 12 and we've been doing this business together for the last 12 years, my wife and I. And yeah, private money lending has been a big part of that. And when I saw what Steven and Chris had built, I said, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I was a bit skeptical at first. I know maybe some of other people on the call are if you're just finding out what PMC is. And, you hear one thing, this, that, and the other. And Steve and I have been around the block. We've seen the good, the bad, and the people who are real. And so it's really important for me prior to coaching, I was like, I'm going to take this platform and just see how it helps my business out. And I just dialed in. I made connections. I didn't focus on funding. I focused on relationships. And I set a goal of seeing how many people I could build relationships with that could help me in my real estate investing business. And it was right around 3 weeks worth of time that I set some posts. I made some connections. I had some Zoom calls and lined up right around $2 million in that 3-week time frame from people within the private money club that were interested in funding my deals. And once I saw that everything was what Steven was telling me and experienced it for myself, and I actually have some of my lenders, maybe they're on this call here, I don't know, within Private Money Club that have been a part of my real estate investing business now for the past 2 years that I met through PMC, I was sold. And so when the opportunity came up to coach and help and give back, I found this to be a really powerful niche. I'm a big believer in private lending. I'm a big believer in creating win-win relationships where we can pay people great rates of return and have it secured by real estate that's worth more. And we can help ourselves and help other people create, the lifestyle by design that they're looking for through real estate. I'm super blessed. I'm sitting here right now looking at my new pool. I give full credit to my pool in the backyard to not using hard money lenders to fund my real estate deals. Okay, so last year I took a local hard money lending company that a lot of my real estate investor friends here in Columbia, South Carolina use. I know what they charge. I know what their fees are. And I took what I'm saving by using private money lenders and the amount that I saved by being a member of PMC and using private money lenders to fund my deals and not hard money lending companies was close to $70,000. Right. So I'm sitting here now watching my 8-year-old swim in the pool outside. And I'm just thinking to myself, how blessed am I to be able to have these great relationships. Right. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, this is exciting. So, and I got that text. And if anyone has any questions, I got some things I'll share with you guys to add a little bit of value and give you a little taste of how I help people in Private Money Club, both borrowing and lending. But to get that text yesterday that Steven just shared, that person sent a message to Joel, who is the person who took her credit card over the phone and got her enrolled in PMC. I'm her coach. And this is what I love about this. I'm just going to add to this. Just watch the replay from Money Club Monday. One of your recent graduates, a lender, presented. I thought that was super cool. That was super cool. And that person is on this call. Her name is Lisa. So shout out to Lisa. Again, this is about relationships. So I'm going to give one of my students, Lisa, credit for hopping on Money Club Monday, introducing herself to this amazing community, because not only I don't know how many people were on the Money Club Monday call, let's say 100. I know there's 200 people on this call. Now, Lisa, you have 300 people who are familiar with your name, which is pretty cool. So Lisa is a lender. She's actively looking for relationships to build within business so that when her funds come back to her, she's ready to pull the trigger and knows where she's going to be putting her money in the next deal and the person she's going to be working with. She gave a great call out to you in the class. I'm reading a text, the same person that Steve. I'll get to the point. I just funded my 37th deal. Would never have had the confidence to do it if it weren't for you. And that just gives me goosebumps, Steven. Like I get a little emotional just thinking about that. As a coach, like that's what it's all about. Like that's why this is so rewarding. Like and there are days, there are weeks where I'm like, man, do I want to do another class? Like it's I put everything into it. I know you guys on the website, it says when we teach the Accelerator course, it's like 6 to 7 p.m. Like we're on there till 8:30 sometimes. So like there's so much to learn about this business. And we call it the Accelerator because for 4 weeks, twice a week, 2 hours a call, I'm trying my absolute best to expedite the learning process and to expedite people's growth whether your goal is to become a borrower like I am, and you want to use people instead of institutions to fund your deals, or whether your goal is to learn how to put money to work at a nice double-digit rate of return. And just like my friend there that sent over that text message, have confidence that you're going about doing things the right way. And I love how she used that word confidence, because for a lot of folks in here, real estate might not be your number one. You might be a doctor, you might be an accountant, you might be a veterinarian, you might be a bartender, you might be an Uber driver. I don't know. But if you're not a real estate investor, we got to get caught up, right? So the whole point of the accelerator class is education, education. The whole point of these calls is education, 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 so that we can raise the bar within the private money club community to make sure people are doing things the right way, right? So, and if anyone has any questions, I can take them in the chat box here. But I do have a slide I'll share with you. And this is one of the tools just to kind of give you a taste of some of the resources that I provide to my students and some of the things that we talk about in there. There is a process to all of this. So for my borrowers, for my real estate investors, my goal for each and every one of you in the class is to learn how to put together a foolproof plan where it's very difficult for someone to say no when you present them with these opportunities. And for my lenders, the whole point of the lending side of it is what to look for. I want my lenders to require the things that I'm asking my borrowers to put together so that everyone is on the same page and we have this consistency within the community. You can absolutely tell who's taken the accelerator course and who hasn't within Private Money Club. Because even if you look at their profiles, like Chris pulled up Boyd's profile is so good, Boyd took the accelerator class. Right? We've worked on these things. So it's not just checklists and things like that, but a lot of how to sell yourself and present your opportunities as both borrower and lender. I'll share this slide with you guys real quick. And this is one of the things that I just love talking about. If I were to share like one slide with this group here of 200 plus people that are interested in becoming lenders or borrowers, it would be this one. And this is just a simple big picture checklist that I like to provide to my students. So think about this, guys. Everyone loves to make a nice double-digit rate of return. They love the idea of it. They love the idea of becoming a private lender. But do you know what a good deal looks like? Do you know what a good operator looks like? Do you know what a good real estate investor looks like? And I mean, there's a lot of people out there who might look good on social media, but if you do a little digging, they're probably not people we want to work with, right? But the difficulty is having the clarity of what questions to ask so that we can gain that confidence that people are having when coming out of that accelerator class, right? So anytime that we have a deal, and this is my checklist, the same things that I do when I'm presenting an opportunity on Private Money Club for funding are right here. And I have all of these ready to go. So just like Chris showed you, hey, you can post a deal, you can post in the forum. Those are action steps that I would take, borrower or lender. But the moment that someone reaches out to say, hey, I'm interested, can we hop on a phone call? Can we hop on a Zoom call? I've got these things lined up that I can immediately send over to them before we have that Zoom call so that they have all the information that they need to be able to say yes, right? So a big thing for my borrowers, we're going to provide pictures of the property, video walkthroughs. We have something within Private Money Club that we call an exit strategy letter that talks about what the use of the property is and lists the attorney or the title company that's going to be involved. If the property's on the MLS, I'm providing the MLS printout, comparable sales, justifying the price from a licensed real estate broker or agent, not from Zillow, right? Property tax map. I want to make sure the property taxes are all caught up. I want to make sure that the lot lines are looking good. There's nothing funky going on next door. Repair estimates. I want to know exactly where my lender's funds are going, down to the doorknob, down to every single window that's going into the property, right? A copy of the contract. And then one of the things that I would recommend people start putting in, and Stephen, they can share their opportunities with you on Money Club Mondays. I would record that presentation with you, have the slide deck as part of your package. So that when someone is reaching out to you, boom, they have videos of you selling it again. It's just, above and beyond, but I've never had someone, I've had people say no before, but maybe that's because they didn't have the funds ready or, something like I can't do it right now. I've never had someone say, no, I don't think this is for me. And that's what I try to do for the students that take my class that want to use people instead of banks to fund their real estate deals. Above and beyond, kind of, I call it like the next level. So like I would have this information ready. So if someone on PMC is like, hey, I'm interested in this deal, boom, sending them all this information. Once we have a good conversation, I'm going to send them over my experience worksheet that has the addresses of all my previous properties, my past 10 flips, my rental properties, so they can see I am who I say I am. A financial statement ready to go. A copy of my driver's license. I've got my LLC documents in a file for them. And also within Private Money Club, we have something called the perfect loan proposal that talks about my business, my company, and exactly how we help and walk our lenders through our deals. Right. So this is a difference maker. So 5 minutes ago, I said you could easily tell who's taking Accelerator and who hasn't within Private Money Club. And these are some of the things that stand out. Now, moving forward, as a borrower, I'm always going to provide these things and sign these things. As a lender, lenders can go and check all of these boxes too. Right. And I kind of compare it to a suit of armor. So like we went to the Money Tank event, PMC's flagship live event in Dallas last month. And we went to, what's it called, Steven? Where did we go? What's that with the medieval times?
Medieval times, yeah.
Yeah, we went to the medieval times. And it was awesome. It was a blast. And I just keep thinking of those knights in the medieval times, and they have all their body armor on, right? And so all of these boxes here are like pieces of armor, if you will, especially the ones at the bottom, like the mortgage. Remember, just like a bank, if you want to be a lender, we got to think and act like the bank. The banks have all the money, they make all the money. Why aren't we're thinking and acting like a bank within our life insurance policies, using that system? It's the same process with our lending. What do banks want? Banks want a mortgage. They want a promissory note. They want personal guarantees. They want to be listed on the insurance. They want title insurance, right? So those I would consider the ones at the bottom like our core. That's like our helmet, and our chest plate. You know what I mean? And then, we could have fun with that analogy all day long, but think about I meet people all the time prior to hopping into the Accelerator class. They're like, hey, no, I did a loan, but I didn't get the mortgage. It's like, okay, cool. Well, you're riding around without a helmet on, so let's start thinking about moving forward, making sure that we have our full body armor on, right? So these are some of the things that we talk about, some of the things that we do, some of the things that help just do good business. So I don't know. I'll answer any questions that people have. But if I could share one thing, it would be this. You can take a snapshot, take a screenshot, try to write it down real quick before I stop my share. You got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. No, I'm just kidding.
And one of the cool things, Noah, is, the bottom part of that is, the legal documents and the right way to do it so you protect your money. So if, things do go wrong, you still have ways, collateral, you have ways to go back and recoup so you're not losing money. And that's great. Like that's one of the most important aspects. But the rest of what you teach, and anybody can learn that pretty easily or have an attorney help with it. So the rest of what you teach, though, is the most important part, in my opinion, because if you're a borrower, how do I pay the least amount of interest to keep more in my pocket as possible? Well, by positioning yourself, in the right way, by making sure that the lender feels comfortable, that they have a low perceived risk, you're going to be able to borrow money a lot cheaper. But on the lender side, same thing. Like as a lender, I want to get max dollars for my money. I want to make sure that my risk meets my reward, but also that I know how to negotiate, that I know how to talk the talk, that I know how to talk the language of this and point things out where, hey, instead of 12%, maybe I'm getting 15% on this deal because I was able to point a few things out. And how important is that? Well, that's everything.
Nailed it.
If you're growing money, you want to be able to maximize it. And think about this. If, you pay a few grand for the course, you go through Accelerator, you learn one thing that allows you to negotiate one deal differently. You make an extra 3 grand on it, pays for itself right there. Well, what about the next 36 deals like that person that texted us yesterday? That's just all pure profit. So, it's not only protecting your money, but also how to talk the talk and actually operate within this industry, which is really cool about what you do.
You hit the nail on the head. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you treat this like a business, as a lender, you have systems, you have checklists, you have company policies, right? Lending things that you look for and request. Where does your credibility go, Steven? It goes up. So that then allows you to be able to charge more, you know, because you are treating it like a business. At the same time, borrowers, if you have systems, if you have checklists, if you're bringing professionalism to the table, where does your interest rate go? It
A-
goes down. You're stable.
Absolutely, man. And
I
it's
mean, so it's I'm telling you, I know for a fact I should ask her. That's a great question. I should text her because I know there's things that, like, if for anyone that's on the call right now, if you are a borrower, a real estate investor, and you want to pay 10%, but you're talking to a lender and the lender's asking for 14. What do you say to that person that gets them to do the same deal at 10%? What do you say? Right? These are things that we teach in the Accelerator class. So it's not just the checklist, but it's also some fun negotiation stuff. And the same, if you flip the coin, lenders, same thing. If you're working with an experienced borrower and the experienced borrower says, "Hey, I only pay 10%. I've been doing this 12 years." And you want 14. What do you say to that borrower? Man, it'd be nice to work with him or her. They got a nice track record, right? What can you say to them that gets them excited to work with you at 14%? Because there are people that I work with who are extremely professional. I love paying them higher interest. I love it because they set they how they set up their business, how they think around time and money and their knowledge base, right? So it's so true. It's so true. Education is power. It's going to put more money in your pocket.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff, Noah. And I appreciate you coming on, sharing that slide, telling a little bit about, why you're doing what you do with the coaching and everything else. And so I really appreciate that. I'd encourage everyone on here, join Noah tomorrow, Thursday, for the PMC Quick Start webinar. Does it every single Thursday. Check it out. Like I said, schedule a call with our Blueprint team, see if the Accelerator training's right. But Noah, not to cut you off, I know you can keep going and you teach this and you're amazing at it. But we got one of our other coaches, good friend of both of ours that we've known for a long time, another very successful real estate investing company down in Southern Georgia, Mike Puglisi. He's actually at a job site. So I just wanted to kind of position over to him real quick and kind of see, okay, Noah is kind of teaching the principles on the computer, but Mike actually brings people out with him to job sites. It's what we call the PMC bus tour, performance bus tour. And so Mike's actually at a job site right now. So Mike, what's up, man? Just real fast, if I could swing over to you so we can check it out, what you got going on.
Awesome. How's everyone doing today? I hope great. Thanks for having me on, Stephen. Noah, always good to see you. I hope you enjoy your pool with all the interest you saved as I'm sitting in.
Hey, Mike, Steven, we're waiting for Mike to get the new glasses that videotape that have like the cameras in them. So when he does his tours, he can just put on the glasses and walk around the properties instead of turning the camera around.
We've talked about it, man. We might do the virtual. We'll see, but he's there in person right now. So let's what you got.
Yeah, I'm at a project right now we just purchased using private money, of course. They funded the purchase of this property. I fund the rehab on it, which puts the lender in a really good position on a first lien position, is something I do with some of this. This property right here is going to be a full renovation. It's an absolute beautiful property. As you can tell, this is someone who started the renovation and they ran out of money. We picked it off of a TV lead. I run a TV ad here in Macon, and they just need to get rid of it. They were behind on the taxes and they just need to get rid of it. So we got a really good deal on it. As you can tell, it's beautiful. This is going to be a full gut rehab from top to bottom. We've already started electrical in the roof. But what we do and what I do is I take students to properties just like this and show them how to analyze a deal, walking it, how to estimate repairs very quickly, where you can feel confident with a number and know that number is going to be pretty close after you start getting some what we call hard estimates or hard bids from contractors. And Steve, one of the things that the students love, I think, most of the students that come to this bus tour is they have no experience in something like this, right? They've never seen a home in this type of condition. And sometimes I can tell when they walk the first property, they're like, oh my God, what is happening here? So we walk the first one and it's an absolute disaster, which I love to buy disasters. And then we walk the second one in the middle rehab, and then we show them a finished one, and they can see that process and their eyes kind of open up a little bit to this whole process of real estate investing. And no, I'll tell you, this is not for the weak-hearted. So this is a tough business sometimes, but if you have your systems in place, you have checks and balances, and you estimate repairs properly, and you borrow correctly, and you analyze the end price, the ARV, like Noah was talking about, getting a CMA from a realtor, understanding what comps you're looking at, you start feeling more confident about what you're doing. And that's what we help. We help build confidence within the students that come to the bus tour. And they might never want to rehab a property. And I'm sure Chris will tell you, rehabbing has its ups and downs, more times downs than ups. But lending money on a project that someone knows what they're doing can be very rewarding for the lender. And it's a true passive income strategy as long as you underwrite right. And that's what we help students do. In a lot of cases, is just show them, hey, this is what a deal looks like from start to finish, how you would underwrite it as an investor. So they can kind of get in our shoes a little bit and see what we're looking at, how we're estimating repairs. And I think one of the biggest things too, they learn is comps. Really, what comps did you look at? How you should look at comps, because someone could put comps up there and say, this is what it's worth, but does it actually compare to that property? And that could be the difference of 10 to 20% sometimes in a swing, which can make a deal that looks good. When you get to the end, it's not good. So we teach people how to do that. And putting this with what NOAA teaches, it really gives students, I believe, confidence to go out there and either lend their money or invest and understand what they're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I know you do a great job, Mike, and I know you're busy at the job site today, so I appreciate you taking a few minutes to hop on. I just wanted to really introduce you to the community again. So Mike's at NOAA, Noah's wife. You guys will meet Christy. They're at all the events. We do have Money Tank coming up in Orlando in November, so looking forward to seeing you guys in person, if not before then. But Mike, appreciate you coming on. And when you guys schedule that blueprint call, you know, if you're the type of person that wants that hands-on training, let me go out there in the field, learn from someone that's very, very experienced, that does this every single day, and really learn the intricacies of how real estate investing works. The bus tour that Mike brings people out on is definitely the spot for you to be. And one funny thing, Mike, that you told me, and this is the opposite of what I thought, but you know, when we first launched the bus tour, I thought it would be for active investors, people that want to go out there and flip houses, learn how to do active real estate investing. But Mike said it's turned into more lenders at the bus tour. And why is that, Mike?
You know, at the last bus tour, last three, it was 90% lenders. So I think lenders want to feel more confident, especially first-time lenders, on lending out their money. And one person, the second bus tour, she's like, I've lent out on a lot of deals. I wish I would have came to this when I first started. Because like Noah's talking about, you forget some things, you're a little nervous, you know, you're lending on something you've never seen before. You know, you got to have these safety measures in place when you're lending out your money, like Noah talks about, and just you're looking at a report or an estimate. How do I know this is right? You're looking at comps. How can I tell? So like, you know, this would give someone a lot of confidence just starting off when they're lending their money. So that's really what we get from a lot of our students that come to this bus tour. I really should call it a lender's tour, I think, Stephen, because it's a lender's tour on how to underwrite deals and understand the process. Because it's like the old saying, you know, if you want to learn something, walk the warehouse floor, right? And sometimes you got to walk some of these projects. You don't have to be in it every day, but walk it to kind of see it, to understand it.
Absolutely. Well, I love it, Mike. Thanks, man, again for being here and hopping on, and look forward to talking with you soon, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good seeing you, Mike.
Good seeing you.
If I'm a borrower and I'm on this webinar right now, and Mike just says I get an opportunity to ride on a bus that's filled with 90% people that want to lend money, I am on that bus.
I want to be there. Yeah, I'd want to be there.
Isn't that the truth, man? I know, Noah, you have borrowers that want to keep taking your course because they meet so many new lenders just through the course.
A lot of it is relationship based. So they want to meet people, and when you're in a class, when we're on the bus tour, when you're at the live events, you know, that it's a big difference meeting people in those settings as opposed to just, you know, seeing a name, you know, pop up or whatever, right?
And I want to say something real quick before I jump off. You know, the reason I'm here is because of Noah and Christy, flat out. And we've been friends, and of course, Stephen, but Noah introduced me to private money years ago. And he's like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you learning this? And I was one of those hard money guys, and I will never borrow hard money again. They call me twice a week. Hey, we got money to lend you. We see you're buying a lot of properties. I'm like, I'm good. And it's because of relationships, and real estate is about building good relationships. And I got to give Noah and Christy and Stephen and Chris just introduced me to the private money club, and, you know, learning about these relationships and then seeing other people succeed is even better.
Agree.
Definitely a huge part of it. All right, cool, man. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Mike, have a great day,
Thanks,
bro.
guys.
Like I mentioned before, one of the beautiful things about real estate investing are all the different aspects, areas, the strategies, different ways of doing it. One of my favorite strategies is something called note investing. And guess what Chris and I did? We went out there and we got the #1 note investor in America to join the Private Money Club team. And so I want to introduce you to a good friend. Become a good friend. He beats me at Top Golf when you play a little golf game, at the bars, but we have a good time together at the events. But Mr. Kevin Shortell, #1 note investor in the country, is part of Private Money Club. And Kevin, what you do with notes is just mind blowing. The knowledge you have, your expertise. And I know so many of our members that work with you on buying and selling notes and go through your program. It's just unbelievable. So thanks for hopping on today and sharing a few minutes with us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have a lot more happy members after this week. We've had a banner week. And by the way, everybody, I'm on my job site as well, which is in front of my computer at home. So my approach is a little bit different. Yeah, I looked at 3 notes this morning and put in offers at 2, and they've already been accepted. And that's on top of already good week. We had 2 closings on Monday. We had 2 closings on Tuesday, and I should have 2 more by the end of the week. So things are really, really cooking here. And the approach I take, it's right, you're right. It's all on that same philosophy of be your own bank. But the approach I take is different on notes. Instead of originating a loan, I come in later into the equation after somebody already originates the loan. That's when I come in and buy the note. And that might be a bank that originated the loan. It might be a private lender that originated the loan. It could be a private individual that originated the loan. So there's a lot of relationships within there. For example, some people at the Private Money Club will go out and buy real estate or buy vacant land and turn around and sell it with financing, right? They offer the private loan on that. And then eventually they want to cash out of that loan. That's where I come in. I come in and buy that loan. And what I like about it is I get to see how the loan is done. You know, as Michael was saying, on a lot of new lenders, they're nervous about doing that loan because they're not familiar with rehabs, they're not familiar with the borrower, we're not familiar with all of those sorts of things. I get to come in and see, how did the loan perform? You know, I know that you originated, how did it perform? Let me see the payment history. And we purchased the notes from that. So it's a little different. You're still being the own bank, but instead of originating a loan, you buy a loan after it's already been created. So that opens up, yet another opportunity within all of this. I've got a brief story if you have time on a deal that might show that. We just closed on one of the ones yesterday.
Yeah, I love seeing the new deals, if you don't mind
so
sharing.
this was a loan that originated this way. There was a real estate investor who I don't know. The real estate investor found a piece of property. They purchased the property at a discount. Motivated seller, needed work. They knew they could fix it up and enhance the value. They borrowed money from a private lender to do that. Okay. They fixed up the property with that money. They enhanced the value. They were able to sell that property, took a down payment of, I think it was about 10, 15%, of the purchase price, somewhere around there. And then they financed it with that person, what we call a wraparound mortgage. So they still had the underlying loan from the private lender, but they created this other loan on top of it that was coming in from the borrower. Right? So the borrower is making that payment. They take some of that money and pay the private lender. That's always meant as a temporary situation, right? So now the real estate investor who created the seller finance note, they wanted to sell the note. So we just bought that note, and through the process of that, their underlying loan was paid off. They walked away with the difference in money, and everybody was happy. The real estate investor, the private lender was happy, and of course the note investor is happy, and the property owner as well, because they got the seller finance note and their payment didn't change when I bought the note. So there's a lot of different tie-ins here that relates to investing, lending, and note investors as well.
Yeah, very cool, Kevin. I mean, if somebody wants to kind of partner with you and work with you, we can talk through that on one of the Blueprint strategy calls. So make sure you get that call scheduled. But what's your ideal student look like, Kevin? Like, who's somebody that's like, this is perfect for them to get started with note investing?
Yeah, all the deals that I closed on this week are all deals that I've personally partnered with on people. You're right. And the cost of entry, I think, let's see, most of them were about 35,000 was the total investment for those loans. We had one at 150, so I don't want to give you an average because that one kind of skewed it, but one was 150. The ones at the end of the week, or the ones that I got accepted offers on today, were about 40,000. One was 80,000, something like that. So first of all, cost of entry can be very low, in the 30,000s of dollars. And by the way, making double-digit returns and everything else with less risk. And I would say the The ideal person is probably somebody who's gone through some experiences like myself. I'm very well-rounded in real estate, but I just got tired of, again, me personally, I just got tired of doing the rehab properties. I've done a bunch of those in the rehabs, and it's a lot of effort. I got tired of dealing with contractors and those sorts of things. I got tired of chasing property too and buying real estate and trying to find deals. Like I said today, I just work on my computer here and make offers and do all of my analysis, right online. So it's somebody who's looking for passive income. They want to put less effort into what they're doing, because again, it takes a little while, obviously, to learn the whole concept. But I mean, I can analyze a deal within 15, 20 minutes, and if I take a deeper dive, maybe it takes me a half hour. And at that point in time, I'm ready to put an offer, just like I did this morning. I looked at 3 deals and offers on 2, and they've already been accepted. So someone who wants, doesn't have the time, perhaps, of pursuing other things. They want to be passive on the income side of thing. And I'm also very risk adverse. Most everything we do is everything that we do is going to be backed. The investment that we make is going to be backed by something that is worth a lot more money than what we have in it. So that one of the notes that we just closed on, one of them yesterday. Well, 2 of them, the ones from Monday, they were both $28,000 investments, and both of those houses were worth over $120,000. So worst case scenario is someone defaults and it's backed by a $120,000 house. So the safety becomes the first thing, and the returns, are just great. So everything's cooking along. We got a lot of good, what we call performing notes that are well seasoned. For those who are new, seasoned in this universe is called, that's the payment history, right? So if you have a note, a couple of these notes that we bought, the people have been in there for 8, 9, 10 years, so you see a really long track record. They got 15 years left, and we come in and buy that cash flow. So yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, very cool, man. Very, very, very cool. Well, I'll say this. I think you might have a couple of questions over here, but Craig, I got to say, this has been amazing today, talking about Private Money Club. Chris, I know you're very proud of Private Money Club, especially what's coming in the future for PMC. And we wanted to kind of reintroduce it to the community, to our campfire, make sure everyone's aware. So I would invite all of you to go over to privatemoneyclub.com right now, set up a free account, create a nice profile, put a picture on there, start interacting a little bit on there, schedule your blueprint call so we can talk to you what's right for you. But Craig, what I'd like to do, maybe since we're running out of time today, we only got about 10 more minutes here, is maybe we do a part 2 next week. I mean, this was a great introduction to the opportunity, the options, what's available to everybody. But now how does that start actually working with the infinite banking concept? How do we use Private Money Club along with a specially designed engineer whole life policy? And what does that look like long term? Does it make sense to flow money through the policy first and then get into these different opportunities like private lending, like flipping, like notes, and these different opportunities? So maybe next week we can kind of continue down that road, you guys. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea. Craig, what are your thoughts? Show them how a little bit of uninterrupted compounding interest can benefit some of these deals that we were just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we focus on kind of setting up the whole process for infinite banking, and then we show how it works. And
yeah, what does everybody else think? Robert seems to like that. Everybody like the idea of doing a round 2 for this next week? All right. Guess it's in the bags.
I like it.
In the bag. I got one thing, Stephen, I wanted to talk about, something we've been working on really hard over here. We're always working on a lot of things, but this is kind of a family passion project. So folks, many of you know, like back a little while ago, Hannah Kessler and myself, we wrote a children's book. And this was our first children's book that we did. And it's all about, things like giving and, being a good person and understanding friendship and not taking. But really at the core fundamentals of this book, what a lot of people don't know, the book would kind of represent and mimic that of which the giving trade would have from Shel Silverstein or The Missing Piece. But this whole book was written with the premise of the policies and the infinite banking concept. So I love the idea of teaching children about money and teaching children the things that we never, ever learned. And I'm going to get this wrong, but Bruce Lee said something to the extent of, don't give your children all the things you didn't have. Teach them the things that you never learned. I might have actually nailed that. And one of my passion projects for quite some time, and I think some of the audience here has even, been working with me on this a while, is starting with kids. I love that Samantha said that. It starts with the kids. But you know what? There's a massive, massive problem when it comes to financial education in the schools, financial education to the teachers, financial education to the parents, and specifically the kids. So, I've been blessed, to have really, had success in my life financially, and in that success, I've created a private foundation that me and my wife run, and we're very passionate about giving. And to date, this is the very largest thing that we've ever taken on with the foundation. So we pledged $1 million of our money. Okay, and this is solely our private foundation, is just our money. I want to be clear about that, to a project that is very near and dear. Now, I've been literally for years working on trying to bring financial education to the schooling, and myself and Andrew and Shauna have all been part of going into BOCES and presenting financial education courses to literally get shut down, and going to the public schools and literally just flat out being shut down and saying, oh, you got to go here. And they're never going to allow it. But my daughter goes to a private school called Park School. It's a very reputable school here in Buffalo. What I like about Park is it's not just for wealthy families. Okay, it is private, but there's a really diverse, unique student population at the school. And we sat down with the gentleman who runs it, and we started talking about the different things that we wanted to do with financial education. And we came up with this idea. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. And because when you're working with a school, you got to kind of you got to give a little bit, and you got to play into what they've already got in the works. And one of the things that they were dreaming up is this right here. So it's a brand new theater and art gallery. Okay, you'll kind of notice these are the renderings. We have lots more renderings of it. You'll see the name on the wall is Naugle Hall, but it's not Naugle Hall just because I wanted naming rights. It's because this is the very first step to bringing financial education into the private school sector. Park School has a massive outreach to other private schools. They are looked at as, because they're so old, they're looked at as one of the founding private schools, and a lot of other schools, private schools that are take the lead from Park. And Park has set out to build this building here. And what I did is I came in and I said, hey, listen, if I pledge $1 million of our money from the Naugle Foundation to building this, number one, I want naming rights, but that's just part of it. I want to bring financial education as a major curriculum to Park School. And I want your help, because Keith, the guy who runs the school, is very well known throughout all the other schools, including Harvard and other big Ivy Leagues. He's been in this education space for a long time. I said I wanted this to be like kind of the starting place for something much bigger. So let me just read what Keith wrote about financial education. He said, it's no surprise that financial learning in primary education schools is limited due to the lack of various resources. A 2023 study shows that when teens receive financial literacy lessons in school, they manage their money more effectively well into adulthood. It's kind of funny. Wonder how that would happen. In fact, the effects on a student's financial well-being are detectable over a decade after graduation. A study by a nonprofit, National Endowment of Financial Education, reveals strong public support for teaching financial literacy in schools. A nationwide opinion poll found that 88% of Americans think that their state should require a semester or year-long personal financial course for high school graduation, with 80% of the adults wishing they were required to take such a course. Holy shit! That's a hell of a percentage right there, folks. These are stats. So right here, although Park currently provides presentations for its students about taxes, early financial planning, entrepreneurship, and money management, these are only one-time voluntary visits. So essentially what's happening is we, myself, my wife, my team, Money School, hence the name Money School, are going to first bring financial education to this school, and it will spread because of the influence this school has. So as you can see right here, the Financial Information Planning, Chris Naugle is excited to offer both public and private financial education events at the new Naugle Hall for Performing and Visual Arts building. So my ask, this building, it's a 19,000 square foot facility that we're going to build. It's going to be for all the kiddos, teaching them financial education and lots of other stuff, performing arts, visual arts, all that. It's all wrapped into this. I put $1 million of our money into this. Now, I know Stephen, as you can see here, has kind of helped out and been the first donee to this project at $500. You are not donating to the Naugle Foundation. You are donating directly to Park Schools Foundation for the purpose of this building and financial education. Andrew, also on our team, put in $200. So all I'm asking is if any of you feel it in your heart that financial education in schools is important, if you truly believe that I can bring this to this school and start this as something that then over my lifetime and our lifetimes will spread and will finally solve this problem of financial education for our children as a mandatory learning component for our children to go off into the real world, then please help me and help me get this done. Help me get this built. It's a $6 million project. I already put $1 million in. There's another donor that we know that's putting another $1 million in. So we're already at $2,700,000. I don't care if you put $5 in, folks, but if you could, please help us. And I'm not going to ask too many more times, but just whatever you can do, it would be greatly appreciated. But I got one other special thing. Stephen, we talked about this, and this was Stephen's idea. Stephen, you want to tell him what you kind of proposed for, remember I mentioned the companion book. So if any of you were to donate, Stephen, tell him what we're going to do for him.
Yeah, I mean, so anybody that donates, Chris wants to give you a copy of the companion book that you see him holding there. Now, if you are so gracious to donate, let's say match mine, 500? 500?
Let's go down to, let's split it in the middle, 250.
Okay.
If anyone donates 250 or more.
$250 or more if you're so gracious to do so. Chris will give you a sign. He will personally sign a copy of the companion for you and send you the personalized signed copy of the companion for any donations of $250 or more, which I think is.
We just need you to put your address in so we know where to mail it. Now let me sweeten this because this will kind of be fun. And I don't know, this is just a, I don't know, little thing that I just thought of. But if anyone does donate what Stephen did, $500 or more, I will not only sign the book, but I will also have my daughter Vivi sign the book and draw you a picture in your book for any donation over $500. That is a one of a kind right there. So not only do I sign it, but Vivi, my little 5-year-old who's kind of embarking on this whole project, she'll sign it and draw you a little picture. So 500 or more gets that, 250 or more gets a signed copy. Every donation, I think, should we do every donation gets a book?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Every donation gets a book. Just make sure we have your address. We can track it all. And again, you know, when you put your donation in, Stephen, did it ask for an address?
It did not. I do not believe.
Okay, so I'll be able to see everybody's name. So all we would ask is anybody that donates, and I know this is an extra step, but I'm sorry, I didn't think this through. I need you to send an email to Shauna@chrisnaugle.com. Just email Shauna, chrisnaugle.com, just put donate in the memo, and then just give us your address and the amount that you donated, and then we will send it off to you. Awesome.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It feels good to give back, get a cool book, and change the world, man.
A huge project. Awesome. Well, that brings us right to time. So folks, listen, there's one question that came in that I have to answer, and hopefully he's still on. Priyani Nelson had asked, how do you prioritize paying yourself first? If you remember, I was reading from Earl Nightingale's 7 Principles of Wealth, and I said law number 1 or principle number 1, pay yourself first. So what I thought I would do is just, if you all will allow me, and I know a lot of people have left already, I get it, but what I would love to do is just show you what that means, because it is actually quite simple. But it is 100, this is almost an exercise in faith, okay? You have to believe me that this will work. I'm not the only one that can say that it's worked. Everybody who does this will tell you this works. But in the beginning, it will feel foreign. It will feel wrong. It will feel like it's going to screw everything up. I promise you. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the universe. I don't know if it's just something in our psychological mind that changes and shifts when you do this. But I promise you, what I'm about to show you will work. So again, how it works today, you go out and you work for money. Okay, so this is money you work for, which means you are trading time for money. Okay, when you do that, you take this money and this money has to go somewhere. We have been taught to put this money in someone else's bank. Now, next week and every other time we do this, what do? We tell you to change where that money goes first, and we have it, you put it into your bank. But for today, for this particular lesson, let's just skip that. We'll come back to why you would want to put that money into your bank. But let's just talk about how you do this. And that question, I just want to make sure I answer this properly because we got a couple other ones. How do you prioritize paying yourself first? The money goes into the bank. Now, over on this side, you have your bills, and some people have more than others, higher ones than others. You have your debts, you have your entertainment, and you have all other things that you spend money on. Now, as it would happen to exist, what most people do is almost all of the income they make goes to pay all of these bills. So at the end, whatever's left, okay, so once all the bills are paid, the leftover, and I want you to think about this, the leftovers. Think about you go for dinner. Let's just say you were the invitee to a really nice dinner, but you weren't allowed to eat with everybody else. Everybody else got to eat, and all you were to get is the leftovers of what people didn't finish. That's your dinner. How many of you would like that? Anyone want the leftovers? I don't think any of you want that, right? You don't want half-eaten, plate of food. You don't want somebody else's fork. You don't want the leftovers. Let that sink in, folks. This is exactly what you've been taught to accept when it comes to your money. The leftovers. I am being dead serious, and there's no other way to put this. This is what you're getting. Your leftovers is your savings. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what we've been taught, and this is where the shift happens. The very first thing I would want you to do, okay, is to believe that you no longer want the leftovers. That is unacceptable. You do not want that. Your bills are important. Your debts have to be paid. Otherwise, there's consequences. You want to have fun. You want to live life to its fullest. But here's what you're going to do. When you get money, let's just use $1,000. Okay, you got $1,000. It comes into your bank account. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to set up a second bank account. But I would prefer this second bank account to be at a separate bank, maybe a credit union, somewhere that you can't just walk in and feel enticed to take that money as easily. Don't get a debit card, just a second bank. And then what I want you to do, whatever the percentage is of this number, I'm going to tell you what the law is. The law says 10% of what you make. Now, you have to work up to this in some cases. Some of you right now can do 10%. Some of you cannot. Whatever your number is, here's what you do. You automatically set it up. If you know when your paycheck hits, let's say this is $1,000 a month and it hits on the 1st of every month. On the 5th, or actually let's do it even on like the 3rd of every month, you're going to sweep $100, which is 10%, or whatever dollar amount you want, 20, 30, 40. There's no wrong amount. I want to be clear about that. There is no wrong amount to paying yourself first. This is your goal, 10%. So if you were able to do that, you sweep the $100 of the $1,000 into the bank account. First, you paid yourself first. You're the one that worked for the money. You're the one that matters. You're the golden goose. You're the golden egg layer. Nothing happens in your world unless you produce. So why are you accepting the leftovers? You pay yourself this $100. That money goes into this account. Now, this account can have many names. This account for some of you could be a brokerage account, okay, where you invest this money into an S&P 500. I don't know. This account could be PMC Wealth, okay, a cash management account. That's fine. This account could be your IBC policy. Whatever the name on this account is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is this. You are conscious, consistent, persistent, and deliberate that 10% or some amount of what you make is paid to yourself first. And then it goes into this account. You do not touch that money. This is money to create the life you want in the future. This is your give today. This is you paying yourself first. Then you pay everybody else with what's left, which is in this case, $900. Everybody else gets paid with that. And if there's just not enough money to pay everybody else after you paid yourself, good. You know what that will force you to do? Do more. Be more. It'll force you to go out and make an extra $100. It will force you to go out and do things that you wouldn't normally do because you changed your mindset around who gets paid first. And it is a non-negotiable. End of story. You paid yourself first. Everybody else comes after you. Once you do this, here's what will happen. Maybe 1 month of you doing this, it'll feel a bit tight. It won't feel right. Maybe 2 months will still feel tight. You'll have to cut some of your entertainment. You'll have to cut out some of the things you probably don't need now to make this happen. But it's a non-negotiable. You drew the line in the sand. This has got to happen. Then all of a sudden, what will happen is it will become normal. You won't miss that $100. Your debts will all be paid, and for some reason, you'll have extra money. And then you'll have this extra left over. And then what you do is you start increasing this number instead of 100, maybe next month or this month when it got easier, now it's 120. And then 130 and 200. And you stop at every level until it feels easy. I can't explain it, but I've been through this. When I did my first policy, it was about 200. Well, I don't have my first one here, but this is like my second one, $389.06 a month. It's right here. This was done 2008, and there was one before this. It was like actually two before this. There was one that was about $230 or $240 a month. I remember when I set that policy up, that hurt. I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I can afford this. And then I went to this one, $389 plus that original one for $240. And that was a little bit tight. And then I went up and I did another one for over $500 a month. And that now is really tight for a couple months. And it got easy. And then I remember when I did my very first IBC policy, it was $1,000. And I remember looking at she was my fiance at that time, Larissa, and I said, holy shit, I don't think I can do this. And she said, oh, we got to do this. And she said, if you need the money, you can just take it from the policy if things get right. And I said, yeah, you're right. So I did $1,000 a month, and that was tough. And then it wasn't. You see what I'm trying to say? Life is about progressing, but you draw the line in the sand and you say to yourself, and you look yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm never going back to the way I did it before. I'm never going back to the life I was doing before. That is not the life I want. I'm working toward this. And you know, something happens. It's called compounding. This starts to compound. And it goes slow at first, and then faster, and then faster. And if you read that thing I put up, that Earl Nightingale thing, which I'll put that up again, you will understand what I'm trying to explain to you is the truth. And you will understand that it does get easier. And your money starts to work for you. Freedom is when money's working for you at a velocity that allows you to enjoy your lifestyle without having to work for money. I know I went a little over there, but that is probably single-handedly one of the most important things every one of you can do. And it is also probably the hardest thing, because it is your first step to many other steps, but it is the first step of disrupting all the mistakes you've made when it comes to money. And the first mistake you've been taught to make is paying everybody else first, and you get the leftovers. Just say, I'm no longer going to accept leftovers. I'm number one. I'm the golden goose, and I'm never going back to doing it that way. With that being said, Stephen, anything else you want to bring up before we depart for today?
No, man, I absolutely love it. Like I mentioned before, make sure you're back here, same place, same time next Wednesday. We will keep this conversation going, dive deeper into how the infinite banking concept implements into all of this stuff with real estate investing to really accelerate and grow your wealth. We'll get into some other strategies as well. And just be sure to join us tomorrow for the Private Money Club Quick Start webinar for each of our weekly shows. I'll put the link one more time. Get your blueprints call scheduled and get those donations going. I saw a couple $500 ones, so I was just texting your wife, Chris, telling her to get your daughter's crayons out because she's got some drawing to do. So we'll get that ready. And if you guys need anything at all throughout the week, do not hesitate to reach out to myself. Our team, we're here for you. snaggy@chrisnaugle.com. If you need anything at all, we're here for you. But appreciate everybody being here today. Craig, appreciate you sitting there and not saying anything today, just with your smile on your face the whole time. And Chris, always a pleasure, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. I put that 7 principles of wealth in the chat. So if any of you are really looking to change the way you do things, start with that. Earl Nightingale. Never heard anything better in my life. So enjoy it, folks. Thanks for everything. We'll see you this afternoon for Ask Me Anything Happy Hour. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Craig. And thank you, team. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Not only that, I've got a book that I created, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, where we actually show you what the wealthy do in the game they play with money. I want you to have that for free. And if you want to know about all my new videos coming up, click that alert button. Actually, smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.